So welcome to this live workshop on the social work interview prep. This presentation will be delivered by Matthew Quaife, Senior Lecturer and Admissions Tutor for Social Work at Middlesex University. During the presentation, do feel free to ask any questions via the QA button at the bottom of your screen. At the end of the presentation, I'll ask the questions to Matthew, who will be happy to answer them as well. Without further ado, Matthew, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Kenny. So very warm welcome to Social Work at Middlesex University. As Kenny has said, my name is Matthew Quaife. I'm one of the lecturers on the team. I'm also a registered social worker, and my practice background was in adult mental health, where I worked as a care coordinator, an improved mental health professional, and a best interest assessor in a community mental health team in central London. So very warm welcome to everyone watching today or online in the future. So let me begin our presentation for the next 25 minutes or so. The emphasis of today's presentation will be on preparing for the social work interview. However, I will give you some tips in terms of making an application, and you will be aware that all applications need to be made via UCAS. So I will provide some guidance on the UCAS element of the application process, but predominantly we will spend time on preparing for the actual social work interview. Towards the end of the presentation, I will provide some details of what to expect on the course. This will focus on placements. So do stay to the end of the presentation to hear a little bit more about where our placements are and how long they last for and what that will involve. So the bits you must know before the interview. So really what I am saying here is the application process. So the application process begins via UCAS. We do not accept any direct applications for our BA on social work, PG DIP, or MA Masters in social work. So everything has to come through your UCAS application. The only exception to that is very occasionally some individuals are employed by their agency, such as social services, and they're working as a social care assistant or a social work assistant, and their employer is considering them for an apprenticeship. And therefore, we have a direct application route. But this would be something that you would need to consider with your employer first of all, and then make direct contact with Middlesex University, and we can signpost you in the right direction. To everyone else, like the vast majority of other applicants, as I said, everything needs to go through UCAS. Now, aside from the various tick boxes that you need to fully complete, and as important as they are, this includes qualifications. We will look at that, look at them shortly. We also need an up-to-date reference. An academic reference would be preferable. Details about your current and past employment, if you have any. All of the details about your name, your age, any health concerns or disabilities, etc., etc. Just make sure that everything is fully completed. The most important aspect of your UCAS application, as I'm sure you're well aware, is the personal statement. So this is where you showcase to us at Middlesex why basically we should shortlist you to interview, which we will look at soon. So really make sure that your personal statement stands out. Make sure that where at all possible, make it social work specific. I do understand that occasionally some applicants are considering a career social work or something else. But when that happens, it tends to we tend to read very generic personal statements, and we don't get a sense of the applicant's motivation for social work, or indeed another program, another course. So really highlight to us, imagine that, you know, what we will be doing. Somebody will be reading your personal statement and assessing whether it can be shortlisted from a very large group, hundreds and hundreds of applications we receive each year. And we have to reduce those hundreds and hundreds of applications. We shortlist them, we reduce those applications by shortlisting them to interview. So make it stand out. Some of the ways to do that is to demonstrate your motivation for social work in your UCAS statement. So what is it about social work that draws you to the profession? Now, lots of applicants write about helping, and that's brilliant. We want applicants to want to help others, but you can help others in a range of professions. You can help others in teaching, in nursing, as a paramedic, as a police officer, as a doctor, etc., etc. Yes, you also help in social work, but focus your personal statement and tell us what it is about social work where you want to help others. Sometimes that could be based on personal experience of working with social workers in the past, or caring for a family member or a friend where social services were involved. It could be a different reason, but really, really highlight your motivation and enthusiasm for social work in your UCAS statement. Also demonstrate in your UCAS statement what transferable knowledge and skills you have that you think will be helpful to you whilst you study social work. So we look at this, we will read your statement and see, first of all, there's a real drive and motivation for social work. There's also a lot of transferable skills. So you might have excellent communication skills, both verbal and non-verbal. You might have already worked in the social care profession. You might have worked in a healthcare profession. You might have volunteered with vulnerable people. You might have worked in the food bank. You might have been on placement during your BTEC study and worked with children or older adults, for example. What skills did you learn on those placements, in those volunteering schemes, in your current or past jobs? What knowledge do you have about social work? So something about your knowledge and skills will really demonstrate to us that you are really thinking about what social work is and why you will be a good social work student. I would also consider adding, very importantly, adding your personal qualities, because social work is very much about relationships with vulnerable adults and children and their carers. So you have to be able, you need to be good at working with the general public and confident in doing so. You may lack some confidence now, and we will help and prepare you over the 3-year BA program or the 17-month MA program, but we want you to demonstrate what personal qualities you have in your UCAS statement. So we will look at this again shortly, because these need to be demonstrated in your social work interview as well. But for now, I'm thinking about compassion, about respect for others, about being approachable, about being a good listener, for example. So something about yourself that you think will gel well with the social work career. Please grammar check, spell check your personal statement. We often do see statements that are poorly written and they just simply do not get shortlisted, partly on the basis of poor grammar and spelling. And this is because social work is very much about writing. In practice, you will be writing court reports, case notes, assessments, care plans, risk management plans, etc. So we need a good level of English. And the first time we're assessing your English is your personal statement. So make it really, really stand out. Proofread, read it to someone, get a computer software to read it back to you, ask somebody to read it to you. The choice is yours, but just make sure it flows logically, it's coherent, and the grammar and spelling are tip top. Okay, so thinking now, moving towards being shortlisted. So you've submitted a really good UCAS application, and your personal statement has been shortlisted, and the next stage will be for interview. Briefly, before we get to what you need to do before interview, if you don't know already, for our undergraduate social work program, you must have a range of qualifications to be for us to consider for shortlisting. This is known as our entry requirements. So for BA on social work, the 3-year program, you must either have 3 A levels. So currently 120 to 128 UCAS tariff points. That's typically BBB. Instead of A levels, you might be studying a BTEC extended diploma in health and social care or science. And what you need to be achieving to be shortlisted is a DDM, so distinction, merit. Some of you might be studying an access to higher education or an access to social work diploma, and we accept that as a qualification as part of our entry requirements. So the grade you must achieve is an overall pass, and you must have 45 credits at level 3, of which 15 must be at distinction and 30 credits at merit or higher. Any viewers today or watching online and you're considering doing an MA or a PG dip, the MA is a fast track accelerated program. The MA with the dissertation is for 17 months. The postgraduate diploma, it's a qualifying award that doesn't have the dissertation, and it's a bit shorter, that lasts for 14 months. You must have a first degree, so you must have already undertaken a degree at university. And we're looking ideally for applicants who've got a first or a 2-1. However, we do accept applicants who have a lower second class, a 2-2. Only though if they have some work experience in health or social care, so 3-6 months plus experience. Regardless if you're applying for BA, PG Dip or MA, you must have English and maths at level 2. So that means grade C GCSE or grade 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We also can consider functional skills maths and functional skills English at level 2. And that's a must. There isn't any negotiation on that. English and maths must have already been obtained with a certificate and an academic transcript by the time the program starts in September 2024. So we do have students who are still studying their A levels, their BTECs, their access diplomas, and for the MA PG dip, their first degrees. And you are very welcome to apply. And should you be offered a place, it will be a conditional offer based on you meet the entry requirement criteria. And just to reinforce the point, that does include English and maths at grade C or 4 or level 2 equivalent. So you submitted your UCAS statement, your UCAS application with a really good personal statement. We've checked your reference and we've checked your qualifications, what you have already received or what you're currently studying. And we think things are looking really good. So we shortlist you. And so the next stage will be an interview. So currently our interviews remain online, which we think is very convenient for both the applicant, yourselves, and the social work team. The interview will be arranged by our admissions team at Middlesex. They're a really helpful and approachable team, and they will offer you a choice of interview dates and times. And we kindly ask, if you are shortlisted to interview and you book an interview, you do attend, or if you cannot attend, you'd get in touch with admissions as soon as possible. And by doing so, this allows somebody else who's waiting for an interview to have your slot. So you need to really prepare for your social work interview. Many applicants over a number of years sadly didn't get through the interview stage, the interview shortlisting stage, because evidently they had not prepared. Sometimes some applicants try and think, I've done enough through my UCAS statement. I can just respond to the questions, everything will be fine. And this is where we see, for some anyway, that it becomes clear that they haven't done enough reading, they haven't thought about why they want to do social work or something else enough, and they're not offered a place. So the applicants that are the most prepared, the most organized, are the ones who get shortlisted in simple terms. So first of all, who will you meet at your social work interview? So you will meet on Zoom with somebody like me, a social work lecturer, and we might be accompanied by a social worker, so a practitioner from a social services team, for example, from Barnet or Haringey or Enfield. There might also be, in addition to the academic, the social worker, there might well be a person with lived experience on the interview panel as well. So this is somebody in the past or currently is receiving services from their local authority, which includes a social worker, because we think it's really, really important to have people with lived experience helping us recruit the best social work students. And you will also see, if you join the program, that they actually undertake teaching and assessment with us. So they're part of our Involve network. Do look up Involve at Middlesex to learn some more about them. So your interview panel could be with 1, 2, or a maximum of 3 people. Normally, it's with 1 or 2 members of staff and or a social worker or a person with lived experience. So before your interview, our admissions team will alert you that there are 2 pre-interview tasks that you must complete. So there's no negotiation or discussion about that. You must complete the tasks in order to complete the interview. The tasks are very straightforward, and we provide you all of the material. The first task is to read a 7-page chapter from Neil Thompson's Understanding Social Work book, and we will give you that chapter via PDF. The second task is to watch a really short video by Sky with regards to person-centered practice. So that's the Social Care Institute of Excellence. And it's a 5-minute video, as I said, on person-centered practice. And 2 of our interview questions directly relate to these pre-interview tasks. So if the applicant comes to interview and then we ask, have you read the chapter? Have you watched the video? And they say no, we can't proceed with the interview. And then you have to go through that very frustrating inconvenience of rebooking the interview and waiting a little bit longer to showcase your motivation for the social work program. So on the left hand of the screen, you'll notice the word passion. So again, this is we'll be looking for your motivation, your enthusiasm, your passion to study social work. So again, hint, hint, we might ask you, why do you want to be a social worker? We will ask you, why do you want to be a social worker? So really think about, how would I answer that question? Yes, I want to help is a great answer, but it's not enough. Why do you want to help as a social worker? And that's the key thing to think about. What is it about social work that draws you to the profession, as opposed to perhaps mental health nursing or teaching or medicine, for example? Think about what will make you a good social work student. What's going well for you now at college or at university, or currently or in the past? Why do you get the good grades that you get? What makes you a good student? On the right hand of the screen, research. So in addition to the pre-interview tasks that you must complete, also undertake some research about social work. There's a really good online social work website called Community Care Online. And there you can familiarize yourself with all of the issues and debates and discussions about contemporary social work practice. You could access the British Association of Social Workers. They're one of the representative bodies of social work. And you'll learn a lot from them as well. You could access Social Work England, the regulatory body, and learn about the professional standards. Read newspaper articles about social care. A really good newspaper online is The Guardian. Look for the society section, and you'll learn about issues affecting social workers, social care, healthcare in the community. And by doing so, you will come to your interview feeling really, really confident. Back on the left-hand side of the screen, number 3, we'll also be asking you about your understanding of social work issues, looking at social work values and your own personal values. And also we might be considering any transferable skills that you might have. So that includes communication skills. So we're looking to you to see that you are listening to us, that you respond appropriately to questions, that you're relatively articulate and coherent in your answers. But we do take into account that sometimes people can be nervous at interview. So please don't worry about that. Let's look at some further information on how to prepare for your social work interview. So our interview questions are based on these bubbles, these domains, as they are called. So social work, from this very early point in your application to a university, to us at Middlesex, by the way, #1 in London for social work. So even at this very early stage, then when you are shortlisted and join us as a social work student, then on your first placement, your final placement, as a newly qualified social worker, as an experienced social worker, as an advanced practitioner, and beyond, social work is underpinned by these domains. So these are also known as capabilities. So for example, professionalism. Social workers must be professional at all times. And that includes being a student at university, being professional in the classroom, being professional in the placement. It also means demonstrating professionalism in your social work interview. So dress smart casual. Download Zoom or the application that admissions advise you to download well in advance. Turn up to your interview on time. If you need to cancel your interview, cancel where you can with lots of notice. think about perhaps a question or two that you might want to ask the interview panel. Undertake the pre-interview tasks. Research the profession, undertake some reading. And these, by doing all of those things, will demonstrate to the interview panel that the person in front of them is being professional. And that is a key capability that social work applicants and social work students must demonstrate continually. So think about the other domains that are on the screen: values and ethics, diversity and equality. Moving over to the left of my screen, being able to critically reflect, being able to analyze, having good knowledge and awareness of social work, etc. If you want to learn more about these domains, go to BASW, Google British Association of Social Work, PCF. So that's the Professional Capabilities Framework. So if you Google BASW PCF, it should take you to their page, and they are hosting the PCF domains that you can see on screen. Click on each one and you can read more about them. So I've already covered some of these things, these personal skills and personal qualities, but let's go through them anyway. We might be asking you about your either directly or embedded into our 6 questions. What qualities do you have that would make you a good social worker? So have a think about what are my personal qualities that might make me a good social worker. So are you interested in diversity, for example, and equality? Are you caring? Are you respectful? Are you compassionate? Are you actually genuine? Are you genuinely interested in people? Think about your communication skills. Yes, as I said before, at interview, people get nervous. I get nervous when I'm interviewed, and we do take that into account. So practice with somebody, practice with a trusted family member, a friend. Yeah, you might have a laugh about it at first, but then get serious, be professional. Undertake a mock interview. You already know that you will be asked, why do you want to be a social worker? You know you will already be asked about what study skills you have. You know that there will be questions based on the book chapter and the video. So perhaps think about what questions might be associated with those tasks and practice with someone. And by doing so, you will feel really prepared and you will feel organized and you will feel more confident coming into the interview. So some other key qualities there, having empathy, and do read on what actually empathy is, because it is different to sympathy. Show enthusiasm, show commitment, show motivation. Think about some problem-solving skills that you might have used at college with friends, undertaking presentations, doing group work. How have you managed stress at work when you have multiple deadlines, when things pile up? Do you have examples of working with others? Think about helping others as well. Can you give an example of helping somebody, and what did you learn from that process? Again, a big hint there. We might well ask you about that at your interview. And if you want, and if time allows, ask us a question or two about the program, about social work, and we will love to respond to that. You don't have to ask a question. We don't assess you. We don't score you on the basis that you ask the question or not. So that is purely voluntary. So thinking more about transferable skills. So this could be applicable for your UCAS statement or during your interview. And these will be developed during your social work education. but it could be with regards to delegating of tasks. It could be with regards to leadership in the sense of sharing knowledge among each other rather than managing people. But in terms of skills that we're particularly interested in at UCAS stage, at interview stage, and whilst you're a student with us, is communication skills, particularly listening and demonstrating empathy. And while studying, having really, really good time management and organizational skills. So think about these transferable skills ahead of your application and interview. We might also ask you, we will ask you about social work values. So values and ethics, the value system that underpins social work practice. And this is really, really important. And you can read up much more about social work values if you look at the bottom of the screen, the Code of Ethics, which is hosted by, again, the British Association of Social Workers. And this is where we want at the interview stage and as a student, and of course, as a qualified practitioner, somebody who's going to champion the rights, strengths, and well-being of vulnerable people, children, adults, older adults, and their carers. That you're going to be accountable for the quality of your practice and the decisions you make. And social work is very much based upon establishing and maintaining the trust and confidence of the people you work with. You must have professional integrity. You must be respectful. You must be ethical in your practice, and you must report concerns. So these are some of the values that underpin social work practice. And it's okay if you feel that some of them perhaps are not so obvious to you. That's okay. But at interview, as well as assessing your understanding of social work values, we also want to know a little bit about you and your belief systems, your values. So what do you hold dear to you? So have a think about that now. What do I strongly believe in? Does this mirror social work? Is it compatible with social work? Is it incompatible? Even if it's incompatible, that could be overcome. You might have a very strong religious belief that is different to your neighbors. You might have a strong belief about an equality issue that is different to your local communities. So do have a think about your own belief and value system, and also the values that underpin the social work profession. So we just move into the final stages of this presentation. So I would like to just talk to you about a key element of the BA, PG Dip and MA program. A key element of your learning are the placements. And sometimes students forget that actually the placements are one of the core aspects of the social work curriculum. Yes, you are practicing social work, but you're still learning about social work, and you're also applying what you've learned in the classroom to your actual practice. So our placements are only in North London, and North London is a large area. So Middlesex University, Hendon campus is based in Barnet. So you can see right in the top middle there of North London. And we have placements in Barnet. We have placements in the neighbouring boroughs of Enfield and Haringey, Islington and Camden and Hackney across the North London region. So unfortunately, we can't find placements for you based on where you live. So sometimes we have applicants who live in Luton, in Hertfordshire, in Southeast London, Southwest London, Essex, East Essex, for example. We do have some placements on the borders of Essex, such as Barking, and other areas. So we like to tell applicants at this very early stage where our placements are, because there will be an expectation for you to travel to these placements. We do, of course, look at where you live to manage the commute time, but you could be traveling to placement like I travel to work, and that could be 60 minutes, 75 minutes, maximum 90 minutes. So we try and make your journey as quick as possible. But please do think, if I apply to Middlesex and I'm accepted, which I hope you will be, and we want you to join us, I am aware that the placements are in North London, and there isn't much I can do about that. So that should be your starting point. So BA Social Work, undergraduate, 3-year program. The first year really is very much about introducing you to social work and preparing you for your first placement in North London in your second year of study. And that placement will last for 70 days. In year 3, your placement will be for 100 days, and again in North London. We have a dedicated social work placements team, and we will match the placement to you. So we find the placement for yourself. Any listeners applying for MA or PG DIP, again, it's the same principles, 70-day placement. Your first placement is for 70 days, and the second placement is for 100 days, all in North London. Placements, you will be allocated to what's called a practice educator. So that is a senior social worker who will be supervising and assessing your practice alongside the placement team who are hosting the placement, who are facilitating the placement for you. And whilst you're on placement, you will remain allocated to your academic advisor, also known as a tutor. And we also check in on your placement formally at the start and halfway through to make sure things are going smoothly. And you also join a tutor group at university, usually every 2 to 4 weeks, to meet a small group of other students also on placement, where you can share your experiences, analyze a particular case, for example, get advice from your tutor. So I hope that's been a useful presentation in terms of advice for your UCAS application, and advice for your interview, and also some information about the placements that we have on offer for our social work programs. And we have some links on screen there relating to our skills labs and some student and staff experiences of studying and teaching social work. And there's some very useful websites to visit. Please do consider these ahead of your application, particularly your interview. Social Work England, the regulatory body, BASWA, one of the representative bodies, and the rest as well, and some further virtual work experience links on screen there. And now's the time for any questions via the Q&A that I will happily respond. There is an open day on Saturday, the 24th of February. So do come along and you can meet some social work staff, have a look at the campus, and enjoy a presentation from the social work team about the actual program that you're applying to. So thank you for your time, and we wish you a successful application, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that, Matthew. I'll just give a second for anyone who might have any questions to continue to write them in the chat. We'll see them come through. While we do wait, I did have a question myself, and I was wondering, how or where do you suggest interested applicants to obtain additional and relevant social work experience to better prepare them for the course.
So how and where did you say? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that could be a range of opportunities. The probably the quickest and easiest way to gain the experience of working with others is to volunteer. So I mean, you can just Google volunteer in my local authority. You could access your local church, volunteer at a local food bank, um, and that will begin to familiarize yourself with working with vulnerable, usually, not always, but sometimes vulnerable people. So people with additional needs. That could be a physical health issue, a mental health issue, a learning disability. It could be somebody who's isolated in the community. And it also improves your experience and skills in working with other professionals. And it looks great on your CV. So think about volunteering. You could Google volunteer with asylum seekers and refugees. You could Google volunteer with people with mental health needs. There's a charity, really good charity called Mind, Mind. They might accept volunteers. In terms of paid work, you might be thinking of working in social care, if there are vacancies available. Domiciliary care, that's more related to personal care, but it will give you a good insight into working with perhaps older people who have been discharged from hospital. Hospitals are also a good way a good option to ask to see if they have any volunteering opportunities as well. So yeah, I'm probably leaning towards more volunteering opportunities. If you have paid work experience in the social care, healthcare, local authority setting, do make that clear on your UCAS statement. Working with children on a BTEC placement, for example, working with older people on the BTEC or Access course placement, that's all valuable as well. So shall I have a look at the Q&A, Kenny?
Yes, so perfect. Thank you very much for that one. I can see a few questions coming in. So we have a question from Jigna saying, "Hi, can applicants bring in prepared notes to the interview? Also, can they make notes whilst in the interview? Thank you."
Thank you, Jigna. That's a really good question. Kenny, did you want to answer that, or shall I?
No, no, I'll definitely let you take this one.
Okay, okay. Um, yeah, applicants can bring notes into the interview, but we suggest that you have them as a comfort blanket. So I've taken notes to interviews for jobs that I've applied for. And what happens 99% of the time with our applicants is that they don't refer to them. So if you have undertaken your research and made some notes, if you've done the pre-interview tasks and made some notes, you thought about why you want to be a social worker, what study skills you have, what will make you a good social worker. If you've thought about your qualities, your value systems, and you've done some reading about what's happening in social work currently, you will be very well prepared for your interview. You might have made some notes, but you will find that you do not refer to them, but they're nice to have if they're. Okay, we let some for the two interview questions that relate directly to the pre-interview tasks. Sometimes applicants say, "Can I have a look at my notes?" And we say, "Yes, that's fine," but we don't want you reading from the notes. We want a conversation with you. So by all means, have some notes, but be prepared to have an informal conversation in terms of answering your question. So thank you, Jigna.
Um,
There wasn't, I thought there was another question, but it might have dropped off.
yes, so I answered that one on the chat. It was just about the availability, and I'll tell you a bit of this webinar afterwards, and I'll just give a bit more detail there in a second. But if there are no more questions, and if you have nothing else to say, Matthew, I'll just close this off then.
Yeah, that would be great, Kenny. Thank you for your time and thank you for your help.
Perfect. So thank you once again, Matthew, for kindly giving up your time and providing such detailed, informative breakdown of the social work application process. It was really insightful. And thank you for joining us. That's unfortunately all the time we have this evening. This webinar will be uploaded to our Middlesex University Education Liaison YouTube channel, so you can look that up alongside all the rest of the webinars from our ACE application series. All webinar participants will also be sent the recording of this webinar via the email you used to sign up. If you do have any further questions, please visit our website by typing up Middlesex University Social Work or any other course for further information on the course, including a course breakdown and entry requirements, and a brief summary as well. Please do also look up our Open Day Middlesex on Google to sign up to Open Day, where you can meet Matthew and the rest of the team for even more information about the course. Thank you very much and have a good evening.
Thank you.